All right. So what I was going to talk about this week that I got a lot of questions on was kind of some run form tips for you guys. Kind of when you can practice them, some drills to help you reinforce them, and kind of how strength can help support your run form as well. So on the bottom right corner there is a guy, if you guys are familiar with running, named Eliud Kipchoge, who's kind of the fastest marathoner in the world right now, and kind of regarded as somebody who kind of has the best running form going. So I'll kind of refer to him here in his picture when I'm kind of talking about this infographic on the left here, because he's kind of got that prototypical, almost perfect form, you would say. So going through this kind of infographic on the left here, some things to think about when you are running and thinking about your run form. So starting at the top there, so head tilt. Our heads are actually quite heavy on our bodies. So if you think about gravity and moving forward, really where your head is lying can play a big factor in how efficient you are moving forward. So if you think about your head and gravity, you want that head tilt to be looking ahead and not have your head like leaning way back or leaning way forward. If you have it just slightly forward, kind of like Eliud's there in the bottom right corner, then you're using that gravity to move forward. Second, if you're thinking about your arms, a thing I get with a lot of my athletes is when they finish their races that they're running, they often talk about how it's not even their legs that are super sore, but like their shoulders and their arms and their hands, because they're like clenching their fists while they're running. So one thing to think about is run super relaxed. A thing I always say is like pretend like you're holding eggs in your hands while running. You should be super relaxed in your upper body, because the more time you spend clenching your fists and giving energy to the muscles in your upper body, you're taking away energy for your lower body there. And just in terms of form, like you'll be a lot smoother if you're more relaxed in your upper body. You can be a little more fluid versus having to be more rigid like this if you're really clenching those fists. Another thing to think about, kind of those elbows at 90 degrees there. You can see Eliud in the bottom right corner. He runs like with a slightly little bit past 90 degrees, but you'll see for the most part, those guys in the picture are running with those 90 degrees. You don't want to have them tucked too close up at your face or like hanging down beside you either. That's again going to help you drive forward, and with that head tilt, propelling you forward as much as possible. In terms of your legs, so number 3 on there, one thing to think about is always driving forward. You want to definitely have a fast turnover. I'll talk about cadence in a second here. But quick leg turnover and a short stride. So in terms of cadence, typically I recommend around 180 steps per minute. That can be tracked if you have a watch, like a GPS watch. A lot of times it'll tell you cadence. If not, you could always just have a watch with you, and over the course of a minute, count how many steps that one of your legs is taking and times it by 2. That'll tell you your cadence that you're using for that full minute, and then you kind of know your cadence steps per minute. Just one thing to mention with all this run form stuff is always try and make small incremental changes. Don't sit there and go out and think of all 6 of these things and try and implement them your first run. I can tell you I've made a lot of changes to my running form over the years, and it's all been like tiny little tweaks. So moving to number 4 on the graphic there, shoulders as well. They kind of go along with those arms as well. Is like if you're clenching those arms and clenching those shoulders, it's wasted energy. So keeping those shoulders relaxed, and one thing I think about, especially when I'm racing and you really get in the moment of running hard and being intense during that, is every now and then I just shake out my hands and shoulders and just remember that staying relaxed in that upper body is going to go a long way as well to helping you kind of stay strong and not waste energy throughout a run. In terms of torso, one thing I always like to say is think of yourself as having almost a metal pole through the middle of your body in terms of running tall. You'll see a lot of people like to run either tilted way back or bent way over, but any of these guys, some of the best runners in the world there on the bottom right there, you can see they have very much a straight shot right through their body there. So that's definitely the most efficient way, and it's going to help you the most with like your breathing and stuff. The more you're hunched over or leaning back, it's just not optimal for your lungs for breathing as well. And then as we get kind of down to the ankles and feet, to go back to that cadence, landing lightly, and you always want to think of your turnover as like rolling and not as much like just hitting the ground with each foot stroke. Just kind of think of yourself as always, when you're turning over, keep rolling forward. So with cadence, like I was talking a little bit about before, you definitely want to try and have a quick cadence. Like a lot of these guys are probably running at more like 190 steps per minute. Personally, for the longest time, I was running at 150 steps per minute, which I was finding with that cadence, I was hitting the ground really hard and just not getting that good roll and turnover. That's going to be the most efficient. And if you think about it, every time, if you're running that 150 steps per minute, every time you're stepping, you're hitting the ground hard and you're almost braking. Where if you can kind of do that shorter, quicker stride, it allows you to turn over quicker and it's a little less taxing on your muscles as well as you're turning over there. So typically, as it mentions kind of on the right there, you kind of want to land typically midfoot. You don't want to go pure heel striking. So typically if you land kind of on the midfoot and roll onto that forefoot, you'll find that you'll turn over a little quicker. And if you're finding you're landing on that heel, it's probably typically because you're overstriding and forced to land on that heel, which again is going to be taxing on the muscles and almost force you to brake along the way. So talking about when you can start to implement these run forms changes. So one thing I like to think about is 2 spots. I'll throw little changes in. I usually pick like one thing to work on during a run. So maybe it's I go out on an easy run and I choose the head tilt to work on. And it's just making sure I check in on myself a bunch of times and work on that head cue being forward, or that head tilt being forward. So like I said, just pick one thing per run and maybe work on it for a couple runs. And then when you feel like you've started to master that, you can kind of go to another one of these on the kind of 6 there. So yeah, just pick one thing, slowly improve. The 2 times I typically like to work on this running form stuff is first on my easy runs. So one of those is you're not doing like the hard run workout, so it's a little easier to just focus on one of these like run form pieces. Another one is when I am doing a workout, a lot of times I'll do like pre-run a couple like sprints or strides, just to kind of get my body primed for those intervals of the main run workout. So a lot of times I like to really work on really good form and fast turnover on those strides there. I just find it really helps me when I get into the actual workout, when I can't really think about this form stuff as much because I'm really thinking about working hard in my breathing, that kind of those pre-workout strides help prime me for that work. And then I don't need to think about it as much and it just becomes automatic over time. So some drills you can do that will also help with the run form. So some of my favorite ones, I can give you kind of a little bit of a demo with them here. So a couple of them I like to do. So first A's, which are like known as high knees. So really keeping that core tight and staying straight up with the run form. So those A's, a step up from those are B's, where you actually drive the knee and then a kick out. It kind of helps you simulate that run form as well. Some other ones I like to do, butt kicks. So just those kicks like that, I find they really are good at activating the hamstrings and really get you thinking about that. Some other ones I like to do, some power skips, which really help you with once you're starting that fast running of really working on that power through. So it's like power skips like that. And you can do them kind of forward down a track or down a road and just walk back after. And then one other I like to do are like karaoke. So essentially what you're doing here is like you kind of go back and forth like this. It's just a good cue to work on quick foot turnover. So one final piece on running form and posture is I find, especially when I get into running season and I start to neglect my strength training a little bit, I find my form really starts to break down a lot more. So if you can kind of work on strength across both the upper body, lower body, as well as your core, it's going to go a long way in helping reinforce a lot of these running posture pieces. So that's actually going to be my topic on the next running office hours next week. Is going to be, I'm going to go through a bunch of my favorite strength training exercises that I really think will help support your running and both improve your power, that's going to help you run faster, as well as help you stave off injury a lot better. So yeah, core is going to be a huge one. It links the upper and lower body. And then some lower body work to both help that power and injury prevention. And then especially that upper body, when you can do some exercises to really help stay strong through there, it's going to help you hold form late in those runs where, say if you're running a 5K race and you're breaking down and giving up on your run form in that last kilometer or two, you'll find your pace will really drop off. So being strong through your whole body will really help you to hold strong all the way through an entire race. So that's kind of all I had on some run form stuff for today. So I didn't want to take more than like 10 or 15 minutes each week. And then if anybody had any questions from there, you are more than welcome to either throw them in the chat there, or you can hop on their the voice there and ask me as well. But no pressure to ask any questions if you don't want to, but happy to help if you do.
Good morning, Mark. This is Heba. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm the odd participant in your clan, I guess. I'm the one who does not run, but is ambitious to start. But
Awesome.
I don't know from where to start.
Yeah,
I
of course.
like I have the stamina to hike and dance and do a full hour of workout. So I have that stamina, but I don't have the breath in surgeries in my knees, microscopic surgeries. But I'm fine, but I'm worried if running would be good for me, and how can I do it safely?
Yeah, of course. With that, I would say like very incremental additions to it. So say if you're going out for like a 30-minute hike, one thing you could do is try adding in, say every 5 minutes, run for 30 seconds. Start with something like that and do like, so on every 5 minutes, you would run for 30 seconds. So in a 30-minute run like that, you'd do 6 by 30 seconds where you actually run. And then maybe your next run, you add an extra 1 or 2 30-seconders, or you add the, like put them up to a minute. So just do like very small incremental additions to how long you're running or how many like little intervals you're doing of running. And just, I think especially if you've had like knee issues or injuries in the past, like that's a nice way to slowly ease into it. And I think you'll find like if you're suddenly doing these 1-minuters and not finding any issues from it, then maybe you can start to add it a little bit quicker. But I would say maybe look at adding, say, like 5%, 5 to 10% per week in the amount of time you're running. And I think over time you can safely kind of add time like that, and your body will actually be able to adapt to it. So I would say even just on your hikes like that, you could just add in like some small little spurts of running throughout, and then just slowly add on how much running you do. I find that's
amazing. So it's as minimal as 30 seconds every 5 minutes. That's doable.
Yeah, something like that is a great start just to see how your body responds to it, because you may find right away that beats up your legs, and maybe you need to go, okay, I need to step back and maybe do a little more strength stuff first to prepare my body for it. But maybe you'll find those 30-seconders are like, oh, I didn't really, those were fine. I feel fine after that. So I'll try 1 minute each time and kind of grow them that way. And yeah, just grow it very safely over time. Don't go from like the 30-seconders to like, okay, I'm going to go 30 minutes all out. And then you're like, oh, my knee's destroyed. Like you got to just go from 30 seconds to a minute 30 to 2 minutes. And then just bring the time, the walking time between them slowly down. And then I think you'll find over time, that's kind of a safe way to do it.
Excellent. And that's like every other day or every day?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend to start, like, don't do 2 days in a row of it. Like if you look at the run plans, I'd typically recommend having at least a day in between each of the runs, just because running is so taxing on your body. And especially as you're getting into it, like if you do 2-3 days in a row, it's a recipe for injury for sure.
Okay, sounds great. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Mark.
I know you've emailed me a couple of times. Feel free, like anytime you got questions, like shoot me an email, and I'll be here every Tuesday from 10 till whenever people have questions. So if you ever have questions, hop on. I'm always happy to.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm excited to see your progress. I think you'll do great. If you've done lots of hiking, you're gonna be able to get into the running in no time. You just got to do it.
I hope so. I would feel like it's a big achievement if I can do it. Like I feel so proud, and that's the motivation I'm having. So
Did you have like a goal of how long you'd want to get up to running for, like 20 minutes straight, or you're just open-minded about it?
I just want to run. I just want to say I'm able to do it.
For sure. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you
Better
so
stay
much. I
consistent.
use the Nordic walking poles when I'm walking. So those ones I love so much, but I want to take it a step further.
For sure. Yeah. And that's even a thing in terms of progress. Like you could slowly go away from using those poles as well and see how your body reacts to that. It's just, like I said, just small incremental stuff is going to be the way to go to do it safely and
Well,
enjoyably as well.
thank you, Mark. Thank you. I
No
think I have a
problem.
plan. Thank you so much. I'll be
Sounds
here.
good.
Take care.
Talk soon.
Thanks.
Hello, Mark. Thank you for those great tips, like on the running form. Could you just open that picture of
Yeah,
like? I just have one query regarding the
of
form.
course. Can you see it there?
Yeah. So if you'll see Elliot's photo, like
Yep.
his, left, or is it a right leg? I mean,
Yep.
the leg is not hitting his butt cheeks. So
Yep.
I don't know. I could be wrong here, but I've heard like your leg should be pulling upwards. I mean, is that a correct form, or like how he's running? Like,
Yeah, so you'll see like he probably doesn't quite kick his butt, especially as like a marathoner. You'll see it especially more in the shorter distance runners as they'll really start to kick their butts. He will get close to it, but he probably won't fully butt kick. Like the exercise I was talking about with the drills and the butt kicks, that's more of just a thing to help reinforce the form of
yeah.
getting your body to flow through like that. You don't necessarily need to be kicking your butt to be like
No, yeah. No, but like if you're running the way he's running, like you're putting more impact on your knees, right? Like so, I mean, I can understand he's following that form because he might be running for a long time. But for us who have just started recently, like what's a good form? Like because if we are pulling our leg upwards, it's like less impact on joints, right? If you'll see the form,
Yeah,
isn't that
exactly.
so?
The thing you want to, I wouldn't focus as much on like how you're pulling your leg up, but more so, especially on like your feet and your cadence, because we all have different flexibility levels. So if you focus more on that cadence of being
I
that
see.
170 to 180 steps per minute, I think you'll find like your leg will pull up as much as it naturally can based on your flexibility and how fast you're running. So I think your better cue is to focus on your actual cadence of your feet, and
Yeah.
you'll find that your leg will pull up based upon, yeah, like I said, how much flexibility and how fast you're running. Like he's running so fast and
Yeah.
touching the ground so quickly there that his leg is going to kick up quickly, but somebody who's not running quite as fast, their leg's not going to kick up as much. But as long as you focus on that cadence, I think that's a better cue for you.
I see that.
Yeah.
And also like I've been having breathing issues like almost when I'm increasing my pace. Like so, what exactly do we have to? I mean, we can do to improve that. Because I've seen when I increase my pace, like I start getting out of breath.
Yeah, of course, that's obviously a natural thing to happen. So just really focus on. I like to focus especially on my easy runs once again because it's a one to help reinforce. But that in through the nose and out through the mouth, and just if you can continue to focus on that. Like now, I'm at the point where like I don't really even think about my breathing. My breathing obviously goes up when I'm running fast, but that's just a product of myself running fast. So just especially reinforcing that in through the nose, out through the mouth, using that your stomach especially to help with that breathing and making sure you're getting lots of air in on each of those breaths. You just got to know that like when you're running faster, that is a natural thing that's going to happen is you're going to be breathing quicker, but just making sure that your intervals that you're doing are kind of repeatable, like that you're not just going out and you're breathing super hard for the entire way. Like know that you will have spurts that when you're doing your intervals that you're going to be breathing harder. So but once you reinforce that in through the nose and out through the mouth, I think you'll get to a point where you stop even thinking about your breathing. You just know that you're going to be breathing harder once you're doing intervals.
Like, is it okay if we sometimes, like, if we breathe through our mouth, or that should be avoided at all times?
Like you can, but I would definitely say the most efficient is going to be typically like you're kind of breathing in through the nose and mouth, and then exhaling through the mouth. Like you wouldn't like block your mouth or anything and breathe purely through your nose. Like you're gonna breathe a little bit through your mouth, but in terms of like cues for yourself, just really think of taking a good breath in through that nose. You're gonna breathe through the mouth at the same time. That's naturally gonna happen. And then exhaling through the mouth. And I think once you get that cue down for yourself, then it'll become automatic for you, and then you won't think as much about, am I getting the optimal amount of air in? You'll probably be getting enough air there, and just know that when you're working hard, you're going to be breathing harder. But once you get that cue down, you're going to be getting the most air in you can.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions you had?
Like how long you've been running? Looks like
So
quite some time now.
Yeah, so I probably like I played a lot of soccer and hockey growing up, so I would have run like cross country and track and field when I was younger. So say I've been running since I was a kid, but I kind of got serious about it probably back in 2012 when I was in university. I started running back then and kind of ran my first half marathon, and then started doing it a bunch. And now it's between running, cycling, and triathlon stuff. It's pretty much how I spend most of my time now. So yeah, it's been fun to. It's something that's great because you can just do it on your own time, and there's tons of races all over the world. So my girlfriend and I turn them into travel trips out of them. So it's tons of fun.
That's really nice to know. So like during winter, you still go out and go out for a run, or like?
Yeah, it's funny. Back when I was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, like I would run through every condition now, but I've actually I just bought a treadmill this year. So anytime it's super like icy and stuff outside, I try and stay away from that, just because I found like I've slipped in the past or hurt myself, and it's just hard to keep good form out there. But the second it's not icy out there, like I'll run in pretty much any temperature. You just need to kind of know how to dress for it, with especially like your extremities of having a warm toque, warm gloves, and like some sort of face covering, or the breathing is tough on your lungs. But yeah, I pretty much run year round out there now.
Oh, that's nice, because winter is coming, so I was wondering whether I'll be able to continue my outdoor runs. So.
Yeah, totally. I love the winter running. You just, like I said, be careful when on those really icy, slippery days. Try and stick to paths that you know are going to be like well salted, and obviously stay away from things like trails in the winter that aren't maintained, because that's a quick way to injure yourself when you're slipping all over the place, and you either fall and hurt yourself, or it's really tough on the knees when it's uneven. So just be careful and try and stick to paths that you know are going to be paved and salted, to make sure you're not slipping around. But yeah, definitely recommend running year round. Like some of the most beautiful runs I go on are in the middle of winter. So just make sure you're well dressed for it.
Yeah. So by well dressed, like do you buy shoes which are especially for winter running, or like you're running in
I use the same shoes all year round. Like I wouldn't go buy like spiked shoes or anything. I just like I said, make sure I'm running on surfaces that aren't going to be super slippery. So I think you can run in the same shoes all year round. Just got to be cognizant of what surface you're running on.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Mark.
No problem.
Thanks, Mark. This has been a pleasure.
No problem, guys. I'll see you next week.
See you next week. Sure. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.